At 91 years old, Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn Jr. moves through the Cleveland Clinic corridors with the stride of someone decades younger. And he's about to tell you exactly what he puts on his plate every single day to make that possible. This isn't theory. This is a man who won an Olympic gold medal in rowing in 1956, performed surgery for decades, then completely transformed his career when he discovered something most doctors never talk about: the three categories of plant nutrients that can literally reverse the aging process in your arteries, your cells, and your entire body. And here's what makes this different from everything else you've heard. Dr. Esselstyn doesn't just recommend this approach, he's lived it for over 40 years. And the results in his own body and in thousands of patients are so dramatic that we had to break down exactly what he eats and why it works at the cellular level. Let's go back to where this started, because his journey into nutrition wasn't academic, it was personal. In the early 1980s, he was a respected surgeon at the Cleveland Clinic, one of the top medical institutions in the world. But something was eating at him. He kept performing bypasses and interventions that were supposed to save lives, and technically they did. But then those same patients would come back 5-10 years later with the same disease, often worse. The surgeries weren't curing anything. They were just buying time, so he started asking a different question. Not how do we treat heart disease, but why do we have it in the first place? He looked at global epidemiological data, rural China, Papua New Guinea, Central Africa, the Tarahumara people in Mexico, and found something that seemed almost impossible. In these populations, cardiovascular disease was virtually non-existent. Men and women in their 70s and 80s with arteries that looked like they belonged to teenagers. And the common denominator wasn't genetics, it was diet. These populations ate little to no animal products, little to no added oils, and their plates were dominated by whole plant foods: vegetables, greens, legumes, whole grains. That's when Dr. Esselstyn made a decision that would define the rest of his life. In 1985, he enrolled 24 patients with severe coronary artery disease, not mild cases. People with significant blockages who had already had heart attacks, bypasses, stents. People told they had maybe a few years left. He put them on a whole food plant-based diet with one specific rule: no added oils, no animal products of any kind. And he focused on three categories of nutrients he believed were the key to healing the endothelium, the magic layer of cells lining every artery in your body. Within months, chest pain disappeared. Within a year, angiograms showed disease arrest. The blockages stopped growing, and in many cases, they actually shrank. Arteries opened back up. Hearts healed. By the time he published the first major results in 1995 in the Journal of Family Practice, the data was undeniable. Of the 18 patients who stuck with the program, 17 experienced disease arrest or reversal, and over 12 years, not one had a single cardiac event. 0 heart attacks, 0 strokes, 0 deaths from heart disease. Compare that to the 6 who dropped out. Within a few years, they had 10 new cardiac events. Same people, different food, and completely different outcomes. Now let's talk about what Dr. Esselstyn actually eats, because this is where it gets practical. He doesn't eat 100 different things. He eats a core set of the most nutrient-dense plant foods on the planet every single day, and they fall into 3 categories. 3 pillars that directly target the mechanisms of aging. The first pillar, leafy greens and nitrate-rich vegetables. Every day, he consumes massive amounts of dark leafy greens, kale, collard greens, Swiss chard, arugula, spinach, bok choy, and not in tiny side salads. He eats them by the bunch. Steamed, raw, blended. What matters is volume and consistency. Here's why this is the most critical category. These greens are loaded with dietary nitrates. Now, most people hear nitrates and think processed meat and cancer, but that's sodium nitrite in cured meats, a completely different compound. The nitrates in plants are healing molecules. When you eat arugula or spinach, those nitrates sit in your mouth, and the good bacteria on your tongue convert them into nitrite. You swallow it, it enters your bloodstream, and your body converts it into nitric oxide. And nitric oxide is one of the most important signaling molecules in your body. It relaxes the smooth muscle in your artery walls, keeps your blood vessels flexible, it prevents clots, lowers blood pressure, And most importantly for aging, it protects and repairs the endothelium, the thin layer of cells that determines whether you develop plaque or stay clear. As you age, nitric oxide production naturally declines, which is why arteries stiffen, blood pressure rises, and cardiovascular risk skyrockets. But when you flood your system with nitrate-rich greens every day, you bypass that decline. Dr. Esselstyn has seen this in thousands of patients, people in their 60s and 70s whose blood pressure drops 20, 30, 40 points without medication. People whose circulation improves so much that erectile dysfunction reverses, cold hands and feet warm up, brain fog lifts, all because nitric oxide is flowing again. And here's the key detail most people miss. He eats these greens without added oil. No olive oil dressings, no sautéing, because oil, even so-called healthy oil, does something damaging to your endothelium. Within hours of consuming oil, your endothelial cells become dysfunctional. They stop producing nitric oxide efficiently, and that effect lasts for hours. So if you're eating oil multiple times a day, your endothelium never fully recovers. It's in a constant state of low-grade injury, and that's how plaque starts. That's how aging accelerates. In his research, patients who cheated with oil saw their disease progress. Patients who eliminated it completely saw reversal. So his breakfast might be a massive green smoothie. Kale, spinach, frozen berries, a few dates, water, blended thick. Lunch might be a huge salad with mixed greens, tomatoes, cucumbers, peppers, and a dressing of tahini and lemon juice, no oil. Dinner might be steamed broccoli, kale, and Swiss chard over brown rice or quinoa with lentil soup. Every meal, greens front and center for over 40 years, which is a huge part of why his cardiovascular system functions like someone in their 50s. The second pillar, cruciferous vegetables. This is the family of broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, and these foods contain a compound called sulforaphane that does something almost magical. Sulforaphane activates a pathway in your cells called NRF2, and when NRF2 turns on, it triggers the production of your body's own antioxidant and detoxification enzymes. Think of it as flipping a master switch that tells your cells to clean house, to neutralize free radicals, repair damaged DNA, and clear out misfolded proteins. And oxidative stress is one of the primary drivers of aging. Every time your cells produce energy, they create reactive oxygen species as a byproduct. And if those aren't neutralized, they damage your mitochondria, your cell membranes, your genetic material. Over decades, that damage accumulates, and that's aging. But sulforaphane doesn't just mop up free radicals like a simple antioxidant. It trains your cells to produce their own catalysts, superoxide dismutase, glutathione peroxidase. And that protection lasts for days after you eat it. Dr. Esselstyn eats cruciferous vegetables every day, often twice a day. And here's a tip. If you chop these vegetables and let them sit for a few minutes before cooking, you maximize sulforaphane production. The enzyme that creates it, myrosinase, needs to interact with its precursor when the plant cells are damaged by chopping or chewing. If you cook them immediately at high heat, you deactivate the enzyme before it works. So, chop first, wait 5 to 10 minutes, then cook gently or eat them raw like he often does. And the research keeps stacking up. Studies from Johns Hopkins, where Dr. Paul Talalay pioneered this work, show sulforaphane reduces inflammation, improves insulin sensitivity, supports brain health, and even activates autophagy, where your cells recycle their own damaged parts. It's a youth molecule sitting in a head of broccoli. The third pillar, legumes. Beans, lentils, chickpeas, black beans, pinto beans, split peas. He eats some form almost every day. Legumes are one of the most consistent longevity foods across every blue zone population on the planet. The Adventist Health Study, too, followed over 96,000 people and found those who ate legumes regularly had significantly lower rates of heart disease, diabetes, and overall mortality. And the mechanisms are clear. First, legumes are packed with soluble fiber and resistant starch. Carbohydrates your body can't digest in the small intestine. Instead, they travel to your colon, where your gut bacteria ferment them and produce short-chain fatty acids, especially butyrate. And butyrate feeds the cells lining your colon, reduces gut inflammation, improves insulin sensitivity, and even crosses the blood-brain barrier to support cognition. When your gut produces butyrate consistently, your entire system runs in a lower inflammatory state. And chronic inflammation is the underlying driver of almost every age-related disease. Second, legumes stabilize blood sugar. Despite being rich in carbohydrates, they have a low glycemic index because of all that fiber. They release glucose slowly, no spikes, no crashes, no insulin surges. And stable blood sugar is one of the most underrated longevity strategies. Every time your blood sugar spikes, you create oxidative stress and stress your pancreas. Over decades, that leads to insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes, and accelerated aging. But when you build your meals around legumes, your blood sugar stays steady and your aging slows. So he might eat a big bowl of red lentil soup cooked with tomatoes, garlic, turmeric, and greens, or black bean chili loaded with vegetables, or chickpea curry over brown rice. And he combines these with greens and crucifers so every meal hits all three pillars. That's the pattern. Greens for nitric oxide and endothelial health, crucifers for cellular protection and detoxification, legumes for gut health, blood sugar stability, and anti-inflammatory compounds. Now let's talk about what Dr. Esselstyn doesn't eat, because the absence of certain foods is just as important. He consumes zero added oils, not olive oil, not coconut oil, not avocado oil. And this shocks people because we've been told for decades that olive oil is heart healthy, but his research and the work of others, like Dr. Dean Ornish, shows that all oils impair endothelial function. Oils are 100% fat, extremely calorie dense, and they coat your blood cells, making them sticky, which reduces oxygen delivery and damages the endothelium. He also consumes zero animal products. No meat, no dairy, no eggs, no fish. The reason is simple. These foods contain saturated fat, cholesterol, and compounds like TMAO and U5GC that promote inflammation and arterial damage. Even lean chicken, even salmon. When you compare populations that eat them regularly to those that don't, the ones that don't have dramatically lower rates of heart disease and longer lifespans. He also avoids nuts and seeds in large amounts, though he'll use a little tahini or ground flaxseed. Because for someone reversing decades of arterial damage, he takes the most conservative, proven approach, and his results speak for themselves. Let's talk about what this looks like in practice, because the most common objection is that this sounds boring or restrictive. But it's the opposite. His meals are huge, colorful, satisfying. Breakfast might be oatmeal with berries and ground flaxseed, plus a green smoothie. Mid-morning, sliced vegetables with hummus. Lunch, a giant salad with every vegetable you can imagine, plus lentil soup. Afternoon, an apple and some steamed edamame. Dinner, a stir-fry with broccoli, bok choy, mushrooms, peppers, and tofu over brown rice with black beans. He's eating all day, he's never hungry, and there's no calorie counting, no deprivation. Because whole plant foods are so nutrient-dense and fiber-rich that they naturally regulate appetite. You literally cannot overeat steamed broccoli and lentils. And here's what happens in the body when you eat this way consistently. Your cholesterol drops. He's seen patients go from total cholesterol of 250, 280, 300, down to 150, 140, 130 without medication. And that matters because cholesterol is the raw material of arterial plaque. No cholesterol to deposit, no plaque. Your blood pressure drops, often within weeks. Your inflammation markers fall. C-reactive protein, homocysteine, oxidized LDL. Your blood sugar stabilizes. Even people with type 2 diabetes see dramatic improvement or complete reversal. Your gut microbiome shifts toward the bacteria that thrive on fiber. Your energy increases. Your skin improves. Your brain sharpens because cerebral blood flow improves and neuroinflammation drops. And your biological age starts to diverge from your chronological age. You might be 70 on paper, but your arteries, your heart, your brain start functioning like they're 50 or younger. Dr. Esselstyn is the living proof. At 91, he takes no medications. He has no chronic diseases. His cholesterol is around 140. His blood pressure is normal. He lectures, sees patients, exercises daily, And he attributes all of it to 4 decades of eating these 3 pillar nutrients. He didn't start until his 50s, which means even if you're coming to this later in life, the potential for reversal is real. Now here's the part that makes this actionable. You don't have to be perfect from day one. He works with patients terrified of giving up cheese or chicken or olive oil, and he tells them the same thing. Just start. Add a huge green smoothie every morning. Make half your plate vegetables at every meal. Swap one animal-based meal a day for a legume-based meal. And as you feel the changes, more energy, better digestion, clearer thinking, the motivation to go further builds naturally. But for people with existing heart disease, he's more direct. If you want to reverse it, you need to go all in, because every time you eat oil or animal products, you're re-injuring your endothelium. And for those people, the reward for strict adherence is life-changing. Chest pain disappears, shortness of breath resolves, the fear of a heart attack fades, and here's the broader truth. What he discovered isn't just about heart disease. The same dietary pattern that reverses cardiovascular disease also prevents type 2 diabetes, reduces cancer risk, protects against dementia, supports healthy weight, and slows aging at the cellular level, because all of those diseases share common roots. Endothelial dysfunction, chronic inflammation, oxidative stress, insulin resistance, and the 3 pillar nutrients, greens, crucifers, legumes, address all of those roots at once. So if you take one thing from Dr. Esselstyn's life and work, let it be this. Eat greens every day for nitric oxide and endothelial healing. Eat cruciferous vegetables every day for cellular protection. Eat legumes every day for gut health, blood sugar stability, and anti-inflammatory compounds. Eliminate added oils and animal products if you have existing disease, or minimize them if you're optimizing for longevity. And do this consistently, not perfectly, but consistently, because the body heals when you give it the right materials day after day. Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn at 91 is not just surviving, he's thriving. And the blueprint he's proven in his own body and in thousands of patients is right here. 3 categories of plant nutrients eaten in abundance every single day. That's the formula. That's how you conquer aging. If this story has changed the way you look at the potential of the food on your plate, please subscribe to the channel and like this video. We are dedicated to uncovering the medical truths that have been hidden for far too long. Let's cultivate a healthier future together. Our next deep dive into the secrets of longevity will be opening soon.